Thousands of men and women from this country leave the armed forces every year, some of them having served on a frontline tour of duty in Afghanistan. Now, our politicians have promised them homes for heroes when they return, but our team have travelled to Derby to uncover a postcode lottery scandal that is shaming a nation. They fight selflessly for Queen and country with no thought for their own safety. Many have made the ultimate sacrifice with their lives, but what happens to those left behind? Those who have to live with the memories of war. Some return with physical scars, some with mental, but all are in need of support and rehabilitation. It's a sad truth that too many are not offered the promised home for a hero, often finding themselves without a roof over their heads. Brendan Ogden has completed 2 tours in Afghanistan. The first in Lashkar Gah, where he was assigned to protect civilians and keep the peace. Brendan's second tour was in 2009, where his missions included delivering weapons, ammunition, food and other supplies to the many bases in Helmand. He was constantly in the line of fire and saw many of his friends and colleagues seriously injured. Brendan arrived home traumatised by his experiences of war. He has now been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. He's on a heavy dose of medication and finds it difficult to function normally.
I didn't really know I had it until my attitude started changing around people, towards people as well. I get moody, anxious, I start shaking, and just most of the time just flip out at someone. I've changed in myself. I'm not lively anymore. I used to be lively and do stuff.
There is no uniform policy across the country on providing homes for heroes, and there are massive variations. Like many other authorities, the City of Derby does not prioritise housing for returning soldiers. And so, after serving his country, Brendan's now living as a house guest in very cramped conditions with members of his family. Without their support, he would very likely be homeless.
Well, I'm living with my sister and her boyfriend, as well as their kid and my brother as well. It's a 2-bedroom flat, so it's pretty crammed in. This is the first room where Cody sleeps, and my sister and her boyfriend. This is my room where I sleep with my brother, which is a bit crammed.
Brendan has found the transition from life on the front line to life in Civvy Street incredibly difficult, and the council housing application process can feel long, drawn out and even intimidating for ex-servicemen like Brendan.
I've been waiting for quite a bit now, but it is hard, and it does take a long time to actually process or to even get anywhere with the house.
While waiting for a flat, Brendan shares a small room with his twin brother Matt, having to sleep together on a small sofa bed. Matt has also had to become Brendan's carer.
It just can't seem to split us up really. Look out for him, make sure he's getting up because suffering from depression, keep him going, motivated throughout the day. The council have not been responding to him much at all, to be honest, but we keep going back there to let him know that he's desperate for a place of his own, but at the time being, we've got to cope.
All Brendan wants is a home of his own, and today he's travelling just 24 miles across the Midlands to Mansfield to see his old army buddy Patrick. But he's also going to see how this postcode lottery can make winners and losers, for the reunion is taking place in Patrick's own council flat. The former comrades completed 2 tours of Afghanistan together.
Alright. How you doing, big lad?
Yeah, not bad.
You look after yourself?
Yeah, good.
Got a job yet? When I was doing, mate.
They shared many experiences on the front line and are now both facing a battle against post-traumatic stress disorder.
I was part of a team training the Afghan army and the Afghan police. This tour wasn't such a good tour really, as I was blown up and one of my close friends died in the explosion. When it's that close, it's a bit different, a bit hard to take on. I think that's part of why I've got post-traumatic stress. That's the main reason why I came out, really.
But it helps to share memories, good and bad.
That was on that big up, I was. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh my god. Nice one, Tom.
It's been good, actually. Actually feel better.
Talked a bit on the phone, internet and that, but yeah, it's good to actually see him after a year.
For all they have in common, their experience of getting adequate housing couldn't be more different. With the help of Mansfield Council, Paddy was given his home within weeks of returning from Afghanistan.
Little girl stays there when she comes.
Yeah.
Kitchen, normal everyday things.
Nice and big, isn't it? There's a lot of space.
Got to be better than where you are.
Yeah, don't we?
Home space, same time to yourself.
Five people inside a little small flat. I can only fit two in it anyway.
Mansfield Council has only fairly recently changed its policy towards returning soldiers, recognising that they need greater priority and support. Jason Rathbone is Mansfield Council's Veteran Support Officer and himself fought in a Gulf War. He helps former soldiers to try and get their lives back together and understands how post-traumatic stress can become a huge obstacle to them.
PTSD means that you can't relax. So being in a public environment, travelling on public transport, doing anything like that in a public environment can be very daunting. So actually coming into this environment to actually apply for housing sometimes be a very difficult proposition. The main crux of it is you need somebody like me as a centre point within the community to engage with people. I think it's made all the world of a difference to Patrick to have me there really to sort of like deal with everything to do with housing benefits, because it's just had to go to one person who fully understands where he's coming from and what he's been through, and it's made the process for Paddy painless.
I thought I was stuck really. I thought I'd be homeless in a tent or something like that. No, everything got sorted out. The council was spot on, helped me every way that they could. Otherwise I'd have been on the streets, without a doubt.
Hayley Barsby is head of housing in Mansfield Council and admits that they needed someone like Jason to show them that they had to change their policy.
Jason is very passionate about what he does, and listening to him and then beginning to appreciate the set of circumstances that ex-veterans who are returning potentially from quite traumatic experiences are facing. And it was a bit of a light bulb moment where you do think, my goodness, these people really do need more help than we're currently offering them.
Having seen Brendan again, Patrick wishes that his friend could also get all the help and support that he has received.
I don't know why other areas can't be like our Mansfield Council are being. You serve your country, you do what you can, and then as soon as you leave, that's it. It's just like you're just chucked to one side. I just think it's pretty disgusting, really.
Paddy told us about Brendan, you know, had just come out as well. Paddy, quite a close friend of his, was quite concerned about him.
And to try and get Brendan the help he needs, Jason has decided to take on his case.
What I'd like to see is Derby City Council actually take notice of the legislation that exists. He is homeless, he's sofa surfing, that's not justified. If they dilly-dally around, he's going to be lost to them. This is how people end up falling out of the system and end up homeless.
And this is a real and constant danger in modern Britain. It's estimated that there are thousands of ex-servicemen and women currently sleeping rough on the streets. Back in Derby, after months of waiting, Brendan is still living in his family's overcrowded flat. Jason continues to pursue his case, but as yet there is still no sign of Brendan getting his own place.
I hope to get better from PTSD. Have somewhere to live, hopefully rely on myself without other people trying to help me, which I don't like that a lot. I don't like being helped. I'm just hoping that everything turns out okay.
It's now 6 months since Brendan applied to be housed and he's still sleeping on his sister's settee. So we contacted Derby Council and asked them what their policy is regarding ex-service men and women. And they said, in 2009, we carried out an allocation policy consultation exercise with stakeholders. We specifically asked whether ex-HM Forces personnel should be given additional priority under the allocations scheme. The consensus was that this should not be the case. We do recognise that some ex-Forces personnel will have medical and mobility issues as a result of their service. If housing has a detrimental impact on their health and or mobility, this will be taken into account when assessing their application. And as for Brendan, the council informed us that his application is in Derby Home Finder Band B with 4 needs. In addition, we are currently assessing whether he has priority needs under the homelessness legislation. Look, this postcode lottery isn't really about Derby or the dozens of other councils who don't have a policy or priority in this area. It's a government thing. So, come on, Mr Prime Minister. Come on, Mr Minister for Defence, and come on, Mr Home Secretary. Attention, and get your finger out. And finally, there's good news for Brendan. We have just heard that Derby has paid attention, pulled their finger out and offered Brendan a council flat. Good on you, Brendan. Every day this week, we're going to bring you a bite